Hey guys, welcome to Christians Against Religion. It's very lonely in here. I don't have a producer, I don't have a co-host, but we do have me, and hopefully the Holy Spirit is guiding me in what I'm about to talk about. I'm just reacting to some comments, right? I have no idea where we left off on the last comment episode, but first I do want to apologize that we haven't uploaded in, I believe it's been a few weeks. Life gets to us. Steve is busy, Jesse is busy, I'm busy. We all have separate lives outside of this, so I do apologize for not being able to do this. But nevertheless, we're here, Lord willing. We're going to get this episode out to you guys, and hopefully you enjoy it. So I'm going to start off of the interview that me and Steve did with my friend Shaq. And I'm going to read a few of these comments and then go through and see if any fruits come from there. So Sterling Stalker says that Shaq is a great guy and unconstrained and unbiased believer of his church. I liked his fervor and fervor. He wasn't there to defend his faith against some friendly crossfires, so shout outs to the host. As well. Nevertheless, let me relate to the first identifying and backing words about being a Catholic. Shaq mentioned the influential upbringing, that he was dutiful. He was a dutiful churchgoer on Sundays and did all that stuff with that. I mean, I also had these ones as distinctive attributes. I primarily employed and not really exercised or honed my faith, though the cultural family background, some moral education, and the participation in a formal framework. These were the hallmarks of how I used to define my quote-unquote religious affiliation without actual content. And that was it. Not so much more, maybe with some time-released seeds planted in my heart, but I'm sure Shaq's devotion is real and then actually isn't as habitual and corny as that canned response signifies. So I would suggest discarding or substituting this as not a super earnest introduction, because it just increases the stereotypes about Catholics. Well, yes, there are a considerable set of rules in the church, and even though I'm convinced that there is not a single Catholic believer who relies 100% on the theological teachings of the Catechism, the rankers of the clergy are really there to shepherd the flock. Catholicism has a real strong belief in its own truth. In some degrees, or in any way, it is really an exclusionary masquerade. Never forget the dogma extra. Man, this guy is really testing my vocabulary. Extra ecclesiam nullis salus. Ignore the fact that I just said that. Which has got some adjustments after 800 years, but is still being wielded in some badass theologians' minds and hands. But long story short, let me give a takeaway. A huge game changer is in eschatology. To start to scratch the Catholic teachings about it, and you will speedily find a really blurred, perfunctory, and at least in a way, depludious. I said that wrong, but ignore it. Tenet in the Catechism, and additionally in believers' minds. Looking forward to hear more about Shaq. Thank you for that comment. However long, it was very insightful, and I don't have any major disagreements with it. And then the rest of these are just saying simple things about the interview. So I'll go ahead and move on to the comments on our reaction to the Catholicism talk. So Laura Old says, I have learned so much from you young guys. I was raised Catholic as a child, and I can relate to your nice guest. Once I got a Bible, I realized that the Catholic Church was not for me. Thus began my many years of seeking the truth. Mormonism referred to me as a church hopper and advised my LDS friends to cut me off. I've been to so many churches only to leave and knew I was heading to the burning ring of fire. I finally found a place where I belong. Teacher Sean helped me understand all the lifelong questions I was searching for. Keep up the great work and the stuff that you're doing. It's all about love and acceptance for everyone. I really enjoyed that comment, and I hope your journey to truth is continuing to go well, Lord willing. My good friend Charlie Clark said, "Hey brother, oh great show. Want to clarify something that you and Steve were having in a conversation where there's darkness, there is light. Steve said where there is light, there has to be darkness, or you can't have light. Ethan says, no, God is all light and there's no darkness in him. I agree with Steve that if there was light, there has to be darkness. Or you can't have a left hand without a right hand. Hope that clears things up. God bless you guys." And I respectfully disagree. If you chop off your right hand, you just have a left hand because it's on your left. But I know that's not what you're getting at with that. I say that since God is the essence of all good, he's eternal, he has no space and no time until, of course, he created space and time with the creation, right? Before the creation, there was only light because God is light, and there was no creative darkness separate from that. But again, could be wrong. Sterling Stalker has another comment. "Well, I must say that you shouldn't really make reaction videos about your guest. If you want to be smarter or wiser than your guest, go for it when he or she is there with you and call it a debate. I don't think being contentious will be beneficial in light of the mission statement of this platform. You shall prefer the likable side of someone and emphasize the agreements, and definitely not dissect the guest's sentences and not harp on his or her words snippets retroactively. To be hair splitting, there's a whole world out there. You're not a tribunal. You don't need to call and pinpoint slippery or cuttable details. Looking forward to the next conversation." And in essence, you're right, brother. I'm not angry about the criticism. I take it as it is. And a lot of this, I feel, refers more to my side of that reaction video. But again, I don't really remember it. I don't necessarily remember the episodes we make. But I know I tend to be more like that. And in a way, the reason I do it is to talk about the gospel, because we were talking about it in terms of a biblical sense, a really, really important issue, an essential issue of how we are saved. Is it by faith alone, or is it by faith plus works, right? So with that type of stuff, I am pinpointing, I am dogmatic, that's the only way you can be with that, because that is the gospel. We are told in Galatians and in Romans that this is the cradle of our faith, right? And any differences in that, especially that's the whole point of Galatians being written, makes you anathematized to God. And so I am in that. But of course, I have room to grow. Grace needs to grow in my heart. I can be very arrogant at sometimes, and so Lord willing, he will help me in that. And then finally, Kuwine 1979, the church came before the Bible. The Bible, composed as we know, did not exist for the first 300 to 500 years. The early church had the traditions and the sacraments. Traditions and sacraments are still practiced in the Orthodox, Catholic, and Oriental churches. It is claimed falsely that Constantine the Great, circa 330 AD, brought pagan worship into the early church. Please read the early church fathers like Polycarp and Irenaeus. The catacombs are full of prayers and intercession of the martyrs and saints. There are altars there for the Mass. The earliest known prayer to Mary is in Greek on papyrus 330 AD. All of that to say, to fully understand Christianity, you need to have an understanding of tradition and the sacraments. As unpopular as it is in postmodernity, yes, we do have to obey Mother Church because the Trinity is revealed in worship as prefigured in the Old Testament. And so, brother, you are pointing out something that I am ignorant on, and that is early church history. However, I do believe in the canon of the Bible. You say that the Bible didn't exist for the first 300 and 500 years. Well, those letters were in circulation, obviously. You have them mentioned in the writings of Clement, I believe. And there's doctrines that were to be understood, that the early Christians understood them. But again, could be wrong, as we all are sometimes. Okay, and now for the really fun episode, the homosexuality episode. Some of these are too long, but I'm going to try and go through them anyways. I may skim through them, and if you feel that's misrepresenting your position, then I'm sorry. So Ryan Gollings says, as an opposing argument to religion, I believe there are no gods or free will, so therefore choice and control is an illusion, and that we act the way each individual atom and subatomic particles acts within its environment, according to its own properties, that any allowance for change acts on a quantum level and not somehow within human consciousness. When it comes to homosexuality, the simple answer is, who people happen to be attracted to is simply a manifestation of the unconscious universe, the same as everything else in the universe, and in no way warrants any form of judgment. Oh, brother, you are going down a rabbit hole with that one. Continuing on with that, when it comes to politics and social justice, what happened yesterday, today, and tomorrow is all the same in that it cannot be changed. In thousands of years, we'll all be long gone and no one will care. We've experienced thousands of years of persecution and will experience thousands more. In a billion years, the earth will be scorched by the sun and life will perish from the earth. One planet orbiting a stable star in a universe of trillions upon trillions. Why does religion demand faith for salvation and utterless fear of hell and the promise of heaven? Isn't creation enough? Maybe a trillion galaxies is too small. How about a trillion alternate universes? Okay, so first, I don't know why you're watching this show, man. Our goals here aren't necessarily to attack atheism. We don't talk about atheism really. We've talked about nihilism a little bit. I mean, I'm glad you watched the show, but I don't get why. I think it's a waste of your time in this purposeless, unguided universe. Secondly, you're talking about attraction as simply a manifestation of the unconscious universe. Well, you can apply that directly to pedophilia and other types of immoral relationships. Of course, if the universe is unguided and purposeless, then morality doesn't exist. It's just your opinion against another person's opinion. So when you talk about social justice, justice doesn't exist because you have no definitive proof of what justice is. You just have an opinion of what justice is. I have a different opinion, and some evil dictator out there has some other opinion. You have no idea what it is, and you cannot say that your opinion is better than another person's. There's no standard. And if you're to be intellectually consistent, you'd admit that. But if not, I'm sure you're going to argue with me in the comments. And then the alternate universes, talking about having no proof. I mean, it's just an assumption. We can't even see past this universe. Dan Saber says you can be LGBT and Christian, no problem. Deal with the text, brother. 1 Corinthians 6:9. That's all I say to that. Charlie, once again, my comment is to my brother Ethan. If Christ had the victory over sin and death, I think of 2 Timothy 4:10. When I am lifted up, I will draw all men to me. The world is reconciled to God through his son, and that if you're homosexual, that's if you're bisexual, or if you're transgender, God's commandment is to love thy God and to love thy neighbor as thyself. That's it. Now, if you want to be a child of the kingdom after this life, faith in Christ and the Spirit that guides you, not the letter. Love you guys. And so what I point out in this is you mentioned love God and love thy neighbor. Well, Jesus says right after that in Matthew, this summarizes the law of the prophets, right? And so he's referring to the moral law that the prophets taught, all those commandments in the Old Testament. And of course, homosexuality is a sin in those laws. And so I mean, really, I think what you and I's disagreement is, Charlie, as we discussed it afterwards last week, is purely over approach to the issue. This comment is way too long. It says something about Donald Trump is one of the Antichrist spirit. It's not even worth wasting my brain power on it. If you want to give a shorter version of this comment, then you are welcome to. That is all I have for the comments. I thank you guys for watching this all the way through. Sorry if it wasn't the most entertaining. And hopefully next week, Lord willing, we'll be back with Steve. But if not, then we'll go from there. Thank you guys for watching this episode of Christians Against Religion. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and also leave a comment, a shorter comment than the ones we had today. And make sure to be respectful and open up the conversation. We do love thinking about our own views and our own approaches. And be sure to check out cult.love. We're going to be uploading on there pretty soon here. And just subscribe on there if you want more information on how Christ has freed us from our sin and also from material religion. And until next time, I'm Ethan Foster. This is Christians Against Religion.